hearing to begin the meeting this evening, so I call the public hearing to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Carbonaro?
Present.
Meany?
Here.
Gansey? Here. Hopkins? Here. Reinke?
Present.
Swansky? Here. President Wallace?
Here. We'll turn this over to Village Administrator Paula Schumacher for our update on this lovely hearing.
Thanks, Mayor. The proposed budget for fiscal year 2021-22 is $93.7 million. This is a 30% increase from last year. The overall budget increase is primarily due to the increase in capital project costs, including the wastewater treatment plant. The total operating budget is $52.7 million, which is a 3.5% increase from last year. Operating expenditures can be divided into 5 primary uses. A little under 3/4 of the operating expenditures are for public safety and public works. Public works includes streets, water, sewer, and parking. The remaining quarter is divided among general government, golf, and debt service. The proposed revenues for fiscal 2021-22 total $85.5 million and includes $21.2 million in borrowing for capital projects. The remaining revenues are divided among property tax, other taxes, and service charges. The proposed general property tax levy is increased from last year by $86,000. Sales tax and income tax will continue to be monitored monthly, as the state has made several changes to the sales tax distribution method and is proposing a decrease in the amount of income tax shared with municipalities. The capital portion of the proposed budget is $34.2 million. The capital portion of the budget varies from year to year and is based upon the individual projects that we have scheduled and was reviewed by the board separately. $3 million of the proposed capital projects in the 2021-22 budget relates to water projects. $16.8 million is for the Bittersweet wastewater treatment plant improvements, and other projects include the Devon Avenue excess flow facility and the annual streets maintenance program. The budget year begins May 1 and goes through April 30th.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Is there any questions for the Administrator regarding the notice of public hearing for the proposed 2021-2022 budget? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board regarding this hearing purposed for the 2021-2022 budget? Anyone online? Who do we have? Do we have Chris, or do we have...
Chris.
Chris, anyone's hand raised?
No, sir.
Nothing in the chat?
No, sir.
I'll propose a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey? Yes. Hopkins? Yes. Reinke?
Yes.
Swansky? Yes.
Is that it?
That's it.
We are adjourned. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Board meeting for April 6, 2021. I call this meeting to order. Again, ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Carbonaro?
Present.
Daney?
Here.
Gansey? Here. Hopkins?
Here.
Reinke?
Present.
Swansky? Yes, here. President Wallace?
Here. We have requested that Reverend Susan Tyrell do our invocation this evening. Thank you for being here. Susan?
Let's see a moment to quiet. Lord God, we thank you for these beautiful days and the splendor of spring. We pray for safety and comfort and wisdom amidst the pandemic as new hope abounds. This night we ask your presence to be in the hearts and minds of decision makers and with those the council and administrators represent. With attentive listening and methodical discernment, may vision and practicality guide the path. Ready us all for serious work in the village and keep us ever mindful of why we are here. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Susan. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brings us to our consent agenda this evening. All items listed with an asterisk will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on items under the consent agenda. That being said, is there any board member that would like to add or remove anything from the consent?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to take off E1. I have just a few questions.
E1.
What was that number?
E1, yeah.
Okay, anything else? That being said, I'll entertain a motion to amend the consent agenda this evening, which will include the minutes, committee minutes from March 2, 2021, board and committee minutes from March 16, 2021, bills list from April 16, 2021. The consent this evening will also include item C2 under Finance and Golf Committee. We'll be removing Police and Health Committee item E1. The consent this evening will also include under Public Works Committee items F1, F2, and F3.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Sawansky, seconded by Trustee Daney. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
REINKE?
Yes.
Sawansky?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
That motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Gansey. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee REINKE?
Yes.
Sawansky?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Motion carries. Next item we have this evening on our agenda is Treasurer's Report. There's none. Under President's Report, I'd just like to request possibly an update from Mr. Skricky on our vaccination site.
Mayor, as you know, we've been working for several months trying to put together a vaccination clinic. More specifically, we've been working with Jewel Osco. Once we got a commitment from Jewel Osco, we did we looked at several sites, and we zeroed in on the Bartlett Park District because of their willingness to cooperate, as well as the logistics of that building. The first vaccination is going to be on April 13th. We are rolling out the registration. We're using a phased approach. Phase 1 was seniors over 65. We just sent them the notice today. So we've done that phase, and we're helping them get registered. We got those lists from the county and the township, and that's how we were able to target those individuals who haven't received a vaccination yet. Tomorrow we'll be going and looking at some of our frontline essential workers who have not had the opportunity to do so yet. And then after that, we'll go public with the link. And a big thank you to IT and police and administration for putting it together. A lot of communities have seen, most have seen 1,200 shots in the area. Some have seen 2,200 shots. We're getting 3,300. So we're very pleased with that number and the outreach that we'll do with that. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do we know which one it is, Scott?
It is Pfizer.
Pfizer? Okay. Thank you for that update. That's great news.
I just have one quick question. So there's been places I've heard that, like, at the end of the night, they had leftovers, you know, and they're, like, do we feel like we're prepared to make sure that every spot's filled?
Yeah, we are happy. And Jewel now takes them out of their refrigeration units as the day progresses.
Okay.
They also have an outlier list, too. And the fact that the final phase is sharing it with the region, we're confident we'll be able to get all those shots in the arms.
Thank you.
And also, too, prior to that day, the regulations for who can get one opens up again to that next level. So given that circumstance, really makes us confident we won't have a problem.
Great.
Thank you, Scott.
I just want to say that we were able to get that an additional 1,100 doses because we were working with the Jane Society. They had a vaccination clinic planned, and Jewel asked us to combine them.
Okay, good. Very good. Thank you for that update. Any questions for staff?
I have a couple things I'd like to talk about. First, I didn't have this information last meeting, but I found out shortly thereafter that Trustee Carbonaro has a new addition in his family. He has a new grandson, so congratulations.
Congratulations, Trustee Carbonaro.
Thank
Wish you
you.
all the best. Wish
Thank
you
you
all the
very much.
best.
Thank you.
And then we've got one anniversary I'd like to recognize. And that's Roberta Grill, our Planning and Development Director. She served 31 years in the village.
Ooh.
And I know what happened. They hired her directly out of grade school.
Yeah. She got her master's when she was 10.
And then we have just a couple of birthdays I'd like to mention. We have Christy Stone, our village planner. Her birthday's on the 25th of the month. And considering it's election time, congratulations to Trustee Aaron REINKE. His birthday is on the 13th of the month, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yay.
That's all I have.
That's it? Thank you, Trustee Daney. Anyone else?
Oh, we did have we had a bike and run committee meeting about 2 weeks ago, and there's a number of projects that are headed for the village board.
Fantastic.
And I'm very excited. I know the committee was very excited, had some great input, and, you know, get ready to spend a little bit of money, but we'll be adding to the paths and making biking safer.
That's fantastic. Good update. Anyone have any other questions for staff or updates? Hearing none, we'll move on to the town hall portion of the meeting this evening. At this point, if anyone in the audience would like to address the board, kindly step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Anyone would like to address the board at this time?
Good evening, Village President Wallace and the Village Board of Trustees. I'm here tonight regarding concerns of the Bartlett Fire Protection District proposal for Bartlett Fire Stations Training Facility Plan, Administrative Use and Permit. One thing I did, some homework. I have concerns on the training facilities around the area, and one of them was Carroll Stream, which was almost mirrored to the one that's being proposed tonight, for a 3-story one. Danny Stetler, who's now been promoted to Carroll Stream.
Thank you. Danny Stutler, he is now promoted to Battalion Chief of Carroll Stream Fire Department. He served overseeing the tower in Carroll Stream for over 10 years. I talked to him for over 15 minutes over the phone. He said the tower has maintenance issues, but training is well worth it. The tower is closed for certain months, December and January, for liability issues. In 2020, the tower was closed because of the COVID situation and pandemic. He stated that rent for 8-hour training is $1,200 to $1,400. The rates will fluctuate pending what type of training there is. Danny did mention the place a crane or lift at the top of the tower to lift 185-pound dummies to the 3rd level, and also heavy skids for burn sessions. He did mention that. Fire Chief Cabrera and Jim McCarthy did mention that the cost of the tower at Station 3 will be $300,000. But I urge them to talk to Carroll Stream, if you haven't already, about the crane, because it costs about $16,000. He did mention it is well worth it to have a training tower in the district. Carroll Stream's fire district maintains an ISO score, a 2, and which means Insurance Service Office rating of a 2, and the best you can have is a 1, and it's rated by 1 through 10. Information on the community's public fire protection and analyzes the data using the fire suppression rating schedule. And then public protection classification from 1 to 10, with 1 being the best. These are the ratings, and Carroll Stream has a number 1. Before the referendum in March of 2018, Chief Police and the fire district and the board, and I was on the board at the time, we were concerned about the lack of revenue, the slow growth of revenue, and the increased emergency calls that the district was facing. It was a wear and tear on the fleet, and that is one concern I have with the fire district and being on the board, is the replacement of these vehicles. They are the backbone, along with the training of our personnel of the fire district. And I'm a strong proponent of training, but I am concerned is where the funds are being spent, and that is my major concern. Okay, we have Streamwood, that they opened up their training tower, but it's only 2-story high, and it opened up in April of this year. So as a concerned citizen, in 2018, we opened up our checkbooks to improve the fire department and the fire district. And and with the police department as well, we're ranked very highly on safety. So that's my concern as a citizen in these whole situations when we're spending money, but are we spending it wisely? Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Jay, can you give the clerk your address? I'm not sure what that is. Jay Langfelder.
Yeah, Jay Langfelder, 1665 Penny Lane, Bartlett, Illinois, soon to be 415 South Hickory in Bartlett. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else like to address the board at this time that's in the meeting room? Chris, do we have anyone that's raising their hand or making comments in the chat that they would like to address the board?
Yes, Mayor. We do have one question that's been posed in chat. It's from Miss Beth Cooper Zobot of 1327 Tamarack Drive. Her question is, she says, I would like additional information about the proposed Plunkett apartment complex for Naperville Road, south of Timberline Townhomes. What is the status of the complex, and will neighbors be consulted if a decision has not yet been made? Thank you.
Chris, did she leave a phone number?
She did not, but I bet she'd be willing to chat it to us. Well, yeah, she did.
We'll get her an answer back to that directly following the regular board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else on the chat?
We have no other questions, Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. That being said, that will conclude our town hall portion of the meeting this evening. Next item we have this evening is the standing committee reports. First standing committee report is Building and Zoning. Chairman Reinke.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item on Building and Zoning tonight, an ordinance approving a site plan and granting a special use permit for Bartlett Fire Station number 3. I'll move to approve ordinance 2021-30. An ordinance approving a site plan and granting a special use permit for Fire Station number 3 located at 1575 West Bartlett Road.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Second.
I have,
Moved by trustee Reinke, seconded by trustee Daney. Is there any discussion?
yes, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Langfelder, for that information and the information on the crane. So, Chief Cabrinha and Mr. McCarthy, if this zoning permit is not passed, what will you do?
Yeah, that is a good question. Honestly, we haven't given any thought beyond that, as far as if it doesn't pass.
So you wouldn't build it to the 35-foot height?
If it doesn't pass for the variance and height, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't had that discussion, so I couldn't really speak to that.
Okay.
I believe a lot of what makes it the height that it is because of the railings that are up there. So
I'm sorry, because of what?
I think a lot of the height that's up there is because of the railings. I believe it's 37 feet right to the ground level, and then the rest of it is just the railings that are around the top of the building, so that we don't fall off of it.
Have you, some time ago, you were talking about people that you, or organizations that you had targeted for grants. Have you had further discussion about that?
So we have a grant master that we talked about last time. They're always looking for grant opportunities out there. There's some other things that we're working on that I can't really elaborate on at this point, but again, that's always our goal, is to look for grants to fund a lot of the things that we do for capital projects.
And my understanding is that there are 2 engines on order being built?
Correct. So our board adopted a vehicle replacement schedule about a year ago. We have 2 new engines that are on order that should be here in July or August of this year. So we are on track with our replacement schedule.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think I had heard someone at your, was it on the 11th you had a meeting? The fire board meeting, I don't remember which one. I went back and I think I may have sat in it or came back and listened to the minutes, but I think there was some concern about ambulances. So perhaps you could address, because I have heard that from other residents, that we only have 2.
So every one of our employees is a paramedic. So when we look at it from a staffing standpoint, we have 2 ambulances, which are what we call our transport vehicles. So they're the ones that will transport a patient to the hospital. But basically, all 5 of our vehicles are ALS equipped. So they can handle any type of call, they just can't, our engines can't transport. So we have all the same medical supplies, all the same medications, all the same defibrillators and intubation equipment, and everything that you would find in an emergency room, in a sense, we carry on our engines and our ambulances. So that's why sometimes if you call for an ambulance, you'll see an engine show up, because again, there's 3 paramedics on that vehicle and it's ALS equipped. So in the fire service, there's benchmarks that we look at to determine what our staffing levels are. We are nowhere near putting a 3rd ambulance in service. The cost of a 3rd ambulance is very expensive. But again, we look at these benchmarks to determine when we need to spin up another vehicle. And we're nowhere near close to that. So.
And for context, if I could, last year, the Village of Lombard put a 3rd ambulance into place. At that point, they were running 6,600 calls per year. We run 4,000 calls per year. So Lombard was able to go to 6,600 calls per year with 2 ambulances. And again, these are metrics that are nationwide. We run just like Lombard and every community around here. 70% of our calls are EMS calls and 30% are rescue or fire suppression. So to follow those standards, I think, again, being that they are national standards, that's best practices. And we're certainly following those best practices. As to the concerns about funding or any of that, at the end of the day, our board has done extensive return on investment studies on this. We're very qualified to do that. And again, those are our funds to spend or not to spend. And so at the end of the day, if there's questions about those funds, from former trustee Langfelder, he should really come to our board and hear the facts. Streamwood does not have a training tower. That is a hose tower and only a hose tower. It is not a training tower. Carol Streams, and we've got Chief Schultz's email. Carol Streams training tower is closed from November 1st till the end of February because of weather. They can't have people in their training tower because of moisture, potential fall, and you do not want a firefighter injured while training. So if you're interested in facts, we're happy to provide the facts as opposed to supposition.
So I think you guys all received a copy of the emails. So I do have emails from Chief Schultz that explains when their facility was out of service. They had to replace thermal tiles. They had to do some tuck pointing. It was out of service in 2020. And again, that structure that they use, which again is masonry, is out of service from November to March. So it just recently came back online. If you look at the email from Chief Schultz, you'll see that it's going back out of service again for tuck pointing. You also should have received an email from Chief Clark from Streamwood. They don't have a training tower despite what you've heard. They have a hose tower. They can't put smoke in that facility. They can't do any of that. And you should also see a picture of the West Chicago facility that's been mentioned. That facility is just a 2-story structure all they can do in that structure is burn. It doesn't fit our needs and allow us to do the training that we've talked about.
I think that's what I heard in the March meeting, and I thought it sounded like the Carroll Stream was closed, like closed for good.
No, in one of the, I forget which trustee brought it up last time, he talked about scheduling. And again, if you look in the email directly from the chief, it does talk about how there's limited accessibility for outside agencies because they want to train themselves. And so they're going to train first, and some other local departments by them are going to train. So there is some limited accessibility for other outside agencies.
Training as a crew as opposed to a shift, as well as.
Yeah, so we're always looking at economies of scale, and we're always looking to make sure that we're financially doing the right thing. And so, again, the overtime to send our crews out of town is close to $50,000, and that's just twice a year. We need to be training a lot more than that, and we need to be training as crews, and this allows us to do that. I believe President Wallace had mentioned, does this make this community safer? Yes, without a doubt. It'll make the community safer.
Yeah, I think the director made a really good point. It's not this board's responsibility to determine how the fire district spends their money. It's their prerogative. It's our job to see if we're going to approve the variance. And my main question here was answered last time. Does it make the village safer? And the answer is yes. And does it cause a nuisance? And that answer is no. So it seemed pretty easy for me.
To be clear, I wasn't trying to question your ability, and were you else, that it's your money to spend, I understand that. I was just voicing concerns that some of the residents have brought to me.
Well, and I would echo that too. I got a lot of input from residents. I mean, more than I thought that I would get, frankly. A lot of questions, and I don't think this is the proper forum. This is a request for zoning relief, but I think you have a public relations issue on your hands, and, you're both professionals, you know how to handle that, but there's definitely some dissatisfaction out there and some real questions about this.
And I think there's disinformation out there.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a complicated issue.
Education.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just not presented then to the public. It's just because I had the same. I had some people calling me, and I was like, wow, I didn't even think people would be listening to that portion.
Because, well, they don't know that there's trucks on order.
Right.
And also, a lot of them don't, no dissing anyone, but a lot of people don't understand. Some villages do have they have their fire district in the village, and they don't understand that separate district has its entire own board.
Exactly.
So.
Is there any other questions or concerns? Well, I'll call the question then.
Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Swansky?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins? REINKE?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you for being here tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have nothing further on building and zoning tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Reinke. Next item on our agenda this evening is in our Community and Economic Development Committee, Chairman Gansey.
Thank you, Mr. President. We don't have anything under Community and Economic Development tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Gansey. Finance and Golf Committee, Chairman Daney.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item on our agenda this evening, and that's we have one item on our agenda this evening, and that's the resolution adopting the Village of Bartlett budget for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022. And with that, I move to approve Resolution 2021-31, resolution adopting the fiscal 2021-2022 budget in the amount of $93,730,205.
Second.
Thank you.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would like to remove the drone. So I formally move to remove the drone. I think that that's my motion.
Okay. All right. We have a motion.
So moved.
Amend. Yeah, so we have a motion to amend the motion to approve the budget, to remove the drone from the budget, and we have that motion seconded.
I'll second that.
It's already been seconded.
All right.
Got that? So we can vote on that internally, right? and then we'll vote on the approval of the amendment.
I'm tired of hearing about the
Is there any discussion about the drone being removed?
Good.
No, okay. So we will have a roll call now to amend the budget to remove the drone for the administrative side of the village. So go ahead and call the roll.
Trustee Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins? Reinke?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
That motion carries. Do we need to redo the math? We can adjust it later. Okay. Yeah. More than that with all the training, but, okay, so then I will,
Absolutely, and that's the point,
Yeah.
because it's never just $5,000. And there's gotta haves, and then there's stuff that would be real nice.
yeah,
And this is an example of government going crazy with the toys,
yeah. Okay,
not just $5,000.
agreed. So we had approved a motion to amend the budget, so now I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended budget.
I'm sorry, that 5,000 did include the training.
I'll make that motion.
She already did.
I need a second.
Moved by trustee, you keeping up over there? Moved by trustee Gansey, seconded by trustee Daney. Is there any discussion on the amended budget?
Can we reevaluate the drone?
Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Reinke?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all we had on the agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. License and Ordinance Committee, Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. There's nothing on the agenda tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Police and Health Committee, Chairman Carbonaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item on our agenda tonight. I move to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Board of Fire and Police Commissions of Title II, entitled Boards and Commissions of the Bartlett Municipal Code.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Moved by trustee Carbonaro, seconded by trustee Daney, and I believe we have a question.
Yes. So who should I address?
Chief, probably, or Deputy Chief Callis.
Good evening. We can both answer your question.
Okay, thanks. So I was just wondering if you had anyone in mind that for the additions to this board already?
I do. I think that's my question, I guess, actually. Yeah, we have a few applicants.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, I just want to make sure there's a good way so we could get a diverse set of people on the board, because I feel like in 2017, I was fortunate to come to the village for an event at the right place, right time to be appointed to the Economic Development Commission. So I just want to make sure that there's a good process in place to make sure anyone who's interested knows that it's available.
Thank you. That's a very good point. Yep, we have two or three candidates, I believe. 3 candidates, yeah.
Are any
that we're talking
female?
to. What's that?
Are any of them female?
The chairman is already female. Yeah.
We do have, on our website, we have the form always available, and we do frequently get copies of applications from residents for all of our boards and commissions, but that is also.
There's usually a waiting list. That's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion regarding the change in ordinance? And just to let everyone know, the reason the ordinance was proposed to be changed is because with 3, anytime anybody can't make a meeting, then you don't have a quorum, and it's an issue. And also, we have a situation where we have had so many people on there for so long that we don't have really anybody in there to get trained on the culture that we like to see in the village. So I think it's a good thing to have more faces and people on there in order to make sure that we have that same culture of standard of police that we're expecting in the village. So any other question or discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Just for the record, that is ordinance 2021-32. Trustee Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Reinke?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing else to report on police and health.
Thank you, Grandpa Carbonaro. Or is it Papa?
Either, all the above.
Congratulations again. Next item we have under Public Works Committee is Chairman Swansky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Items F1, F2, and F3 were handled under consent.
Thank you, Chairman Swansky. Any new business anyone would like to discuss? Any questions or answers for the staff?
Well, I would like us, now that the election is officially over, apparently the village code only permits 4 campaign signs in your yard at any one time. I think perhaps we could look at that a little bit more closely.
Yeah.
Maybe limit it to the number of offices that are open or not limited at all.
There's a Supreme Court case. It's that ordinance was drafted in 2003. You're actually preempted. The village is preempted. And part of that is there's a U.S. Supreme Court case where they basically, municipality tried to come up with different regulations for political signs than other temporary signs. And one of the few times there was a 9-0 decision declaring a town's ordinance unconstitutional. So my recommendation is, and so the only thing that's left in the state statute is aggregate signage, but you have to treat all your aggregate, that's 5, 6 square foot signs. That aggregate, one of the dissenting or concurring opinions, they talked about, if there's this many offices, how do you have a sign up for everybody? It's protected by the First Amendment. So we do need to look at that. That being said, there's not a good solution in the sense that the villages can't enforce it. We've been preempted from enforcing our political sign ordinances, and the only thing is the aggregate signage, and so we're going to look at that before the next election. But
that sounds like a good answer to me.
I have the utmost confidence in your ability to draft something.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be what I just said, as long as it's constitutional. The current state of affairs is inappropriate.
Yep.
It's not what I think you said proper solution. It's not the proper solution that I'm getting phone calls from residents that they're getting tickets or they're getting notices.
Raise your hand if you got a citation.
Because they've got 4 signs in their yard.
Right.
I get phone calls about code enforcement all the time. I get phone calls about these homes that we've been talking about for years. That doesn't get solved, but we're going around counting signs on somebody's front yard.
And we should not be.
Yeah. So, it's something that's worth taking a look at. And I don't know if it's more training. I don't know if this is something we need to talk more about during the goal-setting workshop, but I'm pretty sick and tired of hearing that kind of stuff. It's not appropriate. It shouldn't be happening in Village Bartlett.
Nothing will irritate a resident more than getting a citation for having 5 signs in the yard when they have a neighbor that has a boarded-up house.
And that's my point, and I realize it's like the police, right? Everybody loves the police until they're in the mirror telling them what to do, right? So nobody likes to be told what to do. But we've got these houses. There's 2 at Lake and 59. One has been torn down, but that's been going on literally for years.
Yeah.
Exactly your point.
Did I miss, because it was kind of difficult to hear you with your mask on, but did you say that Bartlett is not enforcing, that we can't enforce those ordinances?
No. We cannot enforce our ordinance with respect to political signs.
We cannot.
We've been preempted by state statute. That being said, the state didn't pass an ordinance. They a statute as to what the limit was. They proposed it, and it didn't pass. So we can't enforce it. The state can, and they don't basically have a statute to enforce number of political signs.
How are people getting citations?
The only exception to that is the provision in your sign ordinance about the aggregate signs, which was like.
I think we get the point. Let's move on. Okay.
Hey, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, though, Trustee REINKE, because I got one on my door. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Gansey. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Reinke?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
We are adjourned.